rebel force has penetrated the shield and landed on Andor.
This is where the fun begins.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
This is Rebel Force Radio.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars news and commentary.
With Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack.
I've seen Star Wars 500 times. Star Wars #1!
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Now it's time for Rebel Force Radio.
We would be honored if you would join us.
All right, we are back. Did you miss us? Oh, we missed you. Yeah, so great to be back with you here at Rebel Force Radio, your source for the Force and so much more. And I think there's a strategy. We got to take a week off once in a while, and then all of a sudden we get hit with news. We got so much to talk about and unpack here. We've got new footage to look at from Andor Season 2, from Skeleton Crew, a new trailer there. Also, all this information coming about a Simon Kinberg trilogy. Man, oh man, oh man. But I'm excited to break it all down with you all, and been just kind of chomping at the bit as this stuff has been released over the last week or so. So great to be here with you. Thanks for taking the time out and hanging out with us for the next couple of hours. Promise you won't regret it. And if you're new to the program and introductions may be in order, my name is Jason, and with me, as always, my good friend and yours from Chicago, Jimmy Mack.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Star Wars fans. Happy to be back after a week off, like Jason said. I had a very productive week off. For those of you keeping track at home, I finally defeated Jedi Survivor. I made it through the credits and everything. So,
oh, wow.
That's some people are asking. They wanted to know. And I did it in under 150 hours, so I'm pretty proud of myself. It was more like fantastic. 140 something. But it was, an absurd long time. But I don't leave any stone unturned in the game. I have to find all of the treasures or the gizmos or whatever I'm looking for. And,
are there like little side quests? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tons. Yeah.
So you try to complete the whole game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not just plow through to get through the story.
No.
Yeah.
I really take my time with it. And so I did defeat it, and I got to the end of the story and everything. And then I continued going back to the places where I couldn't get access to previously. Now I have access to them. And so there's a lot of wish fulfillment going on right now, because I get so frustrated at these points in the game where I could see, hey, I need to get over there to get that thing, and I couldn't get to it after days of trying.
Well, you've been playing Star Wars video games since at least. Do you go back to Atari? Did you have those Atari games back in the day?
Well, there were Atari games.
There was that Empire Strikes Back game. Yeah.
Right, which I played and I thought was weak. So I didn't really, I didn't. There was another one called Jedi Arena, which was weaker. And
that was for Atari.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They were made by Parker Brothers. Parker Brothers had a brief foray into video game production. And they were terrible at it. So naturally, they went back to board games.
You even knew at the time. I mean, because you can't say, the graphics were terrible, because they were on par with everything else that was out there. So it was really just the gameplay we're reacting to.
Yeah. Unfortunately, at that time in the early 80s, home game playing was prehistoric. And it felt prehistoric. And what was sad was the games never lived up to the franchise from which the games were based. So you'd get a Star Wars game, you'd get an Indiana Jones game, you'd get an E.T. game, expecting the highest of quality. When in fact, a lot of those games were rush jobs, and they were the lowest of quality. But things changed in the mid-'80s when Atari put out the Star Wars video game cabinet, which you would find in arcades, and it had the vector graphics and That was the first really great Star Wars game. Had the music, and it wasn't 8-bit. It was, well, maybe it was. I don't know. I don't know much about the bits, but it sounded better than anything that was on TV. And
when about did this one come out?
I think like 85, I want to say.
Okay, so
86.
So post Jedi. This was the the arcade game.
Yes. And there was a Jedi arcade game too. There was an Empire arcade game, but these all came out after the trilogy had come and gone.
So you've been playing these Star Wars games from back at the beginning, the very first Star Wars game. So where does Jedi Survivor fall? Is it on the upper tier of Star Wars games, or did it not? Yeah,
no, upper tier. I think it's the best.
Wow,
the best ever.
I mean, better than Force Unleashed, better than okay. Battlefront, all those.
Oh yeah, it's the best. It's the best, hands down, the best. Better than Jedi Fallen Order, the best. So I really enjoyed it. So I just wanted to let people know I'm proud of myself. Finally, people wonder, why does it take you so long? Why does it take you so long? But I mean, there are occasions where I'll go a month or two without playing. So
you have to understand. You got things you're doing. You got a career. You got a family. You know what do they think?
I run hot and cold too, and I get distracted easily by like nice days, weather-wise, and things like that. So.
In the Midwest, we got to soak up those 3 or 4 months of beautiful weather. And we got them.
True. So naturally, the weather has turned, and I've been able to spend a little more time with the video game. So I finally beat it.
Now, is Outlaws next for you?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. Yes, at some point between now and the holidays, I'll probably fire that one up too. So expect me to give you several years of reports on that until I finally beat it. I mean, really, Jedi Survivor was released April 2023, and I started playing it on day one. So
day one.
It takes me a long time. Yeah, I live with these games. I really live with these games, man. Yeah.
Well, they're also really good to pass the time between, new Star Wars on TV. We've had a little downtime and stuff like that. But with all this video game talk, it's probably a good time to let all of our RFR listeners know about the meetup at Galloping Ghost.
Oh, yeah. This is the first and only one of 2024. It's been a while. Rebel Force Radio returning to the Galloping Ghost Arcade. Well, at least half of Rebel Force Radio. And that's because the Galloping Ghost Arcade happens to be like very close to where I live. So I will be there. The Babu Freaks will be there. Billy Mack tells me he'll be there. And a cast of thousands. So come on out and join us. It's a $25 admission for all you can play at the Galloping Ghost, and highly recommended. So we'll be getting together there Saturday, November 23rd, starting at 5:30 p.m. And there's a reason why we're doing this, Jason.
Okay.
Because I was informed.
It's not just to have fun?
Well, yeah, it is. It is. But we have a guest of honor. I was informed recently by Eric from Phoenix that he was looking to come to Chicago to go to the Galloping Ghost. So we settled on Saturday, November 23rd. Eric from Phoenix will be there. He will be our guest of honor.
He basically worked his vacation around you and your availability and the availability there of the Galloping Ghost. That is dedication. We don't expect all RFR listeners to plan their vacations around RFR meetups, but if you do,
I'll tell you
it's
what,
nice.
we throw out the welcome mat for our VIPs. And, it's not like Eric from Phoenix is breaking new ground. Joe Dallas, of course, came out here and settled in for a Qbert tournament with yours truly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Joe, it was all about the Galloping Ghost and Qbert.
So Eric's going to be in town. So we're going to make a weekend out of it and hang out at the Ghost on Saturday, November 23rd.
If memory serves, there's some establishments that were in and around there with some adult beverages that around the Galloping Ghost, right?
Yeah, and we usually find our way over there at some point in the middle of the evening. And we will be doing that, too.
Yeah.
We'll be going to Imperial Oak Brewery, which is just down the block and across the street from the Galloping Ghost on Ogden Avenue in Brookfield, Illinois, in the fabulous Chicago suburb of Brookfield. Well known for the Brookfield Zoo, world-class zoo.
Great zoo.
Yeah. So there's no tickets to buy or anything. You just show up at the arcade. You pay them the $25. You find us. We'll be in there somewhere. There's a great selection of Star Wars games if you haven't been there. And there's a game for everyone there. Over 1,000 video games.
Yeah, that's
individual
insane.
game titles on
Over
the
1,000.
floor. Yeah. So they've taken over the entire building. Gone is the Cantonese restaurant. Gone is the company that made meals that were handed out on airplanes. Is that weird? They had
that is real
there was
weird.
a company in there that made meals that were sold on airplanes. Crazy.
Wow.
Well, they're all gone, and the Ghost has taken over. There was even a garage there that they completely took that over as well. So
good
the
for
Galloping
them.
Ghost is growing, and
It's a destination now. I mean, obviously not just for RFR listeners, though. I think you probably deserve a lot of credit for helping to put them on the map, certainly with Star Wars fans. But that's just amazing. I love to hear about these types of businesses that are obviously passions of people. And, you know, it's sort of if you build it, they will come. And this massive arcade is a great example of that type of thing.
yeah, so come out and join us, play some games. It's always great to have hangouts there, and we attract a crowd. So we want you to be part of that crowd. If you're in the Chicago area or the Chicago area is accessible to you, come on out and join us Saturday, November 23rd, starting at 5:30 p.m. It'll be a great time.
All right, we got a little follow-up here from a story that we talked about last time we were all together. So Jude Law was quoted in Variety is talking about, you know, some of his experiences on set of Skeleton Crew, and one of his quotes was about certain things that they don't allow directors to do in Star Wars. And this one was, he said, there's certain shots they don't allow you to do if you're the director. You can't pass through glass of the spaceship. You have to stay on the outside or the inside. I love that. You see the shot and you go, oh, I am in Star Wars. But is that true? We have a Rebel Force Radio listener that Steve that says, no, that is not true.
Yeah, we were wondering because our recall in the moment was like, wait a second, haven't we seen a camera pass through glass on board a starship at some point in Star Wars? I was thinking more like the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, it rang a bell. I was thinking sequels as well.
But what did Steve have to say?
So Steve says, hey, the crash sequence at the beginning of episode 3, when they were still flying the Half ship, the ship crashes and slides right up to the camera and through the glass. I've got the clip right here. So let's take a look and see if Steve recollects, his recollection is the same as ours. So Revenge of the Sith, this is the crash of Grievous' ship at the beginning.
Here it is, coming in hot. Camera is floating up toward the cockpit, coming up right to the window and freeze. No.
Yep. Cut. It does not go through the window.
No, it doesn't. It just freezes. So, that is a rule. And Steve, you are incorrect. Fail.
Another happy landing.
I mean, it's close. I mean, it's real close.
Yeah. I was seeing in my mind's eye. I was like, Steve is right on. They zip right through that cockpit window with the camera lens, but no, they don't. It stops just outside. Yeah. Everyone comes to a halt. They all sort of pitch forward and come back. And then cut to inside the cockpit.
Cut to Palpatine looking at R2
looking
there.
Disturbed. Looking at R2.
I can definitely sympathize with Steve. I understand why he recalled it that way, because when I was going through the show notes, I go, oh yeah, that's the one. Steve's right. And then pull the clip and I'm like, oh, it's close, but no cigar. So
no.
Thanks anyway, Steve.
Yeah. Hey, I was buying it, but we do have to vet you guys out because you guys are all nuts, man. Steve's probably the type of guy who thinks he saw those big scenes back in 1977 when he saw Star Wars in the theater. Nobody saw that. No, I'm kidding, Steve. I don't mean to pick on you. But my friend Pat, he insisted he saw those big scenes that never were screened theatrically in any release of Star Wars.
That's what you call conflation of memories, because there was material that was released around the time. It was the novelization, other things that you all, Jim, seeing it for the very first time when it first came out, you hung on to the comic adaptation and the novelization and then every little bit of behind the scenes you could get. And so the memory gets conflated as to what you actually saw in the theater at that time.
Yeah. Pat was also fond for saying, in the same screening, there was a cantina alien I'll never forget. He would drink by pouring his cocktail into the top of his head.
Well, we know where he got that.
Yeah, it's Harvey Korman from the holiday special.
Exactly. So again, conflation. But of course you're gonna do that. A lot of you guys were 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. When that came out, and I can't speak for Pat, but I know for me that I remember seeing. I think the very first movie I ever saw in the movie theater was Superman 3 or Superman 2.
Okay, better. And, you're getting better.
Yeah. And there's things that I remember about the Superman. The one thing with the Superman movies, there were so many different cuts, especially when we grew up. Star Wars luckily missed this. Oh, I shouldn't say luckily, because sometimes it's nice that you get extra footage. But Jim, there were so many movies in the late 70s and throughout the 80s that had cuts made for television broadcast, and you would get extra scenes. Superman was one where there were a lot of extra scenes.
It's almost a whole different movie.
Yeah,
really.
Right.
I had the VHS tape of Superman the movie probably by 1979, 1980, somewhere. So I saw it a million times because we didn't have that many VHS tapes.
Yeah.
And I was so accustomed to the rhythm of that film and the pacing and everything. And then I saw it on TV.
Yeah.
And every scene had extended cuts to them. And just the one I always remember is with Lex Luthor and Otis. And he goes, Otis, feed the babies. And this big dungeon door opens up in Lex's lair, and Otis is throwing raw meat to something in there that's growling and making all these noises. Also, somebody recently posted online, they made the observation that one of the control panels in Lex Luthor's hideout.
I saw this.
He was in a flooded unused subway station or something. And in there, he has this computer control panel, and it's the exact same computer control panel you see in Star Wars, in the Death Star, in that control room where R2 and 3PO were hiding out. And
I think I've got that here for those of those folks watching the Rebel Force Radio podcast. Here it is. Throw it up on the screen. So here you see.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. So there's Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor here, and sitting at the same computer panel as Han and Luke and 3PO there on the Death Star, with Han got his feet, kicked up on the shelf or on the whatever on the panel actually
on the desk maybe.
Yeah.
Obviously it was sort of customized for the Superman film. It's just part of the set, but it's the same. Yep. It is the same control panel that you see in the Death Star.
The one way that Star Wars fans can relate to that cognitive dissonance of, being able to recite a movie and then there's a line that comes out of nowhere, like in a TV, is with the special editions and the DVDs and things. Because we grew up watching Star Wars on television, on VHS, the original cuts, and there are still some things on the Blu-rays that throw me. With Vader in Empire, alert my Star Destroyer and tell it to Prepare for my arrival. That line surprises me almost every damn time I hear it.
Such a bummer. Such a bummer it is. When, because it was just, you could feel the anger and frustration coming off of Darth Vader when he just simply said, prepare my shuttle, or whatever he said.
You knew he was so pissed off.
Yeah, you can just hear it in the way James Earl Jones delivered the line. And we also know there was a lot of extra care put into recording the dialogue of Darth Vader compared to the 1977 film where James Earl Jones just came in for a few hours and laid down some lines.
Yeah.
They really took their time with how they recorded. And there were many different edits of Star Wars in the theaters, from the 35 millimeter cut to the 70 millimeter cut. There were little changes in certain areas of the audio mix. But switching out those lines, it's just so frustrating.
I remember George talking about that. He thought that the view. What's crazy about this is for so many people, we lived with these movies for a couple of decades. He's like, I think people get confused about how he got back up there. How he got back on his Star Destroyer. Like, it never crossed my mind at any point, any bit of confusion. I'm watching a movie about guys fighting with laser swords in space. I assumed he got back to his Star Destroyer okay. Didn't need to know that he needed the Imperial shuttle to take him there.
Well, how's he going to get there? Was there like public transportation at Cloud City? I don't know.
Did they beam
I need
up?
someone to hold my hand through this.
Like, that's George's takeaway? That's his big takeaway.
And why? Why even think about it? We never see Vader arrive at Cloud City. Why do we have to see him leave?
Right.
Why do we have to see
It's so
What's
strange.
the deal?
What is the deal? All right. Well, let's check in with some listener mail.
Let's do it.
You must contact me.
Play back the entire message.
What message?
Message after the message.
The Emperor commands you to make contact with him. It's a trick. Send no reply.
Hey Jason and Jimmy, it's Nathan from Hampshire in England. I'm a big fan of your guys' podcast. I've been listening since Andor when I found the after shows and I thought they were great. I was raised on the prequels and the original films in the early 2000s. We had the video box set of the original trilogy, which I watched over and over again on VHS. So my favourite is the original, even though I accept that Empire Strikes Back is objectively a better movie. But my call today is about Attack of the Clones, which I watched loads of times as a kid. We had it on DVD. I love so much about it, but the few things I want to bring up are, firstly, just a little funny thing always makes me chuckle at the start of the movie, is when Padme's ship gets bombed, and obviously then we find out as Padme runs over and takes her helmet off that there's a decoy on the ship, and the decoy says, "I'm sorry, my lady, I failed you." I think, well, you didn't, because you were the decoy and you saved her life, so I always find that funny. The second thing is, I always think with all the talk about, the Acolyte season 2 being cancelled and like the future of projects, is the Rey movie, what's going on there? Like, what about the Dawn of the Jedi with James Mangold? So, and I think the question that always comes up watching Attack of the Clones is about Cypher Dyas, ordering the clone army. I always think, well, how did that, because it said, oh, he ordered it 10 years ago, but then he died 10 years ago. I always wonder, like, was that Count Dooku giving the name of Cypher Dyas, he's manipulating it, part of the Sith? I just think there's a really big question mark there. Is Palpatine involved? I think that would be a really cool limited series or film to explore that part of the story just 10 years before Attack of the Clones. And then finally, last thing is when Anakin saves his mother and then she dies and he kills all the Tusken Raiders, there's a bit where it cuts to Yoda meditating and you hear Qui-Gon's voice going, "Anakin, Anakin, no!" At this point, the camera's on Yoda, so I wonder, like, who is hearing that voice? Like, is Yoda hearing Qui-Gon through the Force? Or is that Qui-Gon speaking to Anakin as he's, like, going to slaughter the Tusken Raiders? Or is it from the audience perspective that only we can hear Qui-Gon calling out through the Force and Yoda can't communicate with him yet? So I thought that was a cool question. Thanks, guys. Let me know what you think. I'm a big fan. Keep doing what you're doing. Cheers, guys.
Oh, wow. Thank you for all that. And yeah, some of these things do, as we were just talking about with, Vader and alerting the Star Destroyer and all that, as we get older and these things sit with us a little bit more, we go back and that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And yes, I want to say, Corday, you actually did precisely what you were there to do, which is act as a decoy and take a laser bolt for Senator Amidala. So mission accomplished. You fulfilled your destiny, as we say in Star Wars. I don't know how she would have failed her, If anything, Padme could have said, I failed you. I should have been, able to maybe protect my handmaidens more. I don't know. But, Corday, a hero for sure. What was his? I was trying to write it down. He had three things. What was his second Attack of the Clones observation? Third one was Anakin, Qui-Gon, Anakin.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really focusing in on that question he asked about Yoda. Did Yoda actually hear Qui-Gon's voice in that moment? And I always interpreted it as, he did.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first breakthrough by any Jedi who had died and was presumed dead, the first breakthrough as a Force spirit ever. But I think that's very debatable. Some say that Yoda, because some say that Yoda was only able to communicate with Qui-Gon after the spiritual journey he went on in the Clone Wars, which would have happened after, of course, Attack of the Clones.
I mean, as far as there being like any kind of ongoing communication, I buy that. But I like what you're saying, and I always interpreted it the same way, is it was a momentary breakthrough. I like to think that Yoda spiritually was on, he was on the very, very forefront. He was pushing the boundaries as much as he possibly could. And so it would make sense to me that he and Qui-Gon would finally, there would be a connection. And what was that connection was around Anakin Skywalker, who himself was, so infused with the Force and such a part of the Force. Again, one of those things I never really questioned, just accepted it as Yoda's first clue that there is a way to maintain your individuality after passing on into the netherworld of the Force.
Right on. I think the biggest mystery is, why is it clearly Liam Neeson's voice saying Anakin, Anakin, and then the no is an entirely different voice? Anakin, Anakin, no!
Wait a minute.
That's not...
Do we know that for sure?
Anakin, Anakin, no!
I don't think it's Liam Neeson. It doesn't sound like Liam to me. Anakin, Anakin.
No.
No! Why is it that way?
I don't know.
That's very
I don't know
puzzling.
why it's that way. But it's definitely, it's a lift. The Anakin is a lift from episode 1. When he says, I think he says, jump. Anakin, jump. I think, isn't that what he says?
Say jump? Or duck?
Or duck. Yeah, it might be duck. Duck. I guess it's probably duck, not jump. I don't think Anakin's jumping over Maul Speeder. But the no, right. Why would they bring Liam Neeson in just to record the word no instead of doing a whole retake of the Anakin? So again, something I never really thought of.
Some people have presented, that's actually a Tusken Raider saying no. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. We've never heard the Tusken Raiders verbalize anything other than grunts and growls. How could that be? Yeah.
And I'm not buying that. Not buying that. So.
No!
All right. Well, we've got lots to cover, but before we get into all the news and trailers and all of that, let's talk a little bit about what's been happening with Rebel Force Radio on Patreon.
Yes, yeah. Lots has been going on over at RFR on Patreon, patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. So we took the week off, but RFR on Patreon did not, and we had multiple releases over the last 14 days, including RFR Q&A number 225, RFR This Is Your Life. And that is hosted by RFR VIP Frank Emanuel, who is no stranger to podcasting. And Frank he took a casual poll of RFR listeners on Facebook about what their favorite moments were from our past history of podcasting, which 18 plus years we've been doing this. And so Frank presents us with a couple of funny nuggets and whatnot from, and you know, he opens up I'm telling all these old stories and sharing some memories and, yeah, you know, even throwing a little mud here and there. Hey, it wouldn't be the RFR past told accurately if there wasn't some messy situations to recall. So that was a lot of fun. And so we call it RFR This Is Your Life. We've also had RFR Q&A number 226, Star Wars Trading Cards and Skeleton Crew Anticipation with RFR VIP Jeremy Lanning. We talk about some great Star Wars trading cards. We look forward to Skeleton Crew and much more. Plus, who else? What else happened? I said there were multiple releases. There had to have been one more. RFR RPG.
Oh,
RFR RPG. Yeah. Number 21, Shoot the Tubes. And it's me as podcastist, Tyler Page as Grando the Grand. And we're RPGing our way through the universe, taking on zombie stormtroopers on board an Imperial Star Destroyer, accompanied by a Night Sister zombie, too. So just up the ante a little bit. So we're having a lot of fun over at RFR on Patreon. It's a way you can support Rebel Force Radio and get a lot of bonus content in return. Bonus podcast, full show video, ad-free shows. We announced the Galloping Ghost Hangout there first. You also get access to videos we post on Facebook. Star Wars Hackers Attack Illinois History Facebook page being a particularly popular one lately, and so much more. So join the party, patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio.
Rebel Force Radio.
Star Wars.
I have good news for you, my lord.
That's good news.
Come closer, I have good news.
All right, as we said at the top of the show, some quite a bit of news breaking. I want to kick things off with this story about a new trilogy of Star Wars films helmed by, I guess you could call him a Lucasfilm Star Wars veteran, Simon Kinberg. Simon Kinberg was a creative consultant on The Force Awakens with J.J. Abrams, as well as one of the co-producers of Star Wars Rebels with Dave Filoni and Carrie Beck. So, Jim, I mean, as far as pedigree, we've got somebody here that has a lot of experience with blockbusters, the X-Men franchise, The Martian, which was critically acclaimed. He has the goods, and he's a triple threat. He's a writer, he's a director, he's a producer. So this is somebody that really understands movie making from all facets. And in full disclosure, he, we do have friends here at Rebel Force Radio that know Simon personally. But we got to be objective here, and we got to weigh the pros and the cons about a Simon Kinberg helmed trilogy. The one thing I want to get into in a little bit, we're going to talk about Simon, but we got to put this in context with some of these other projects that we've been hearing about. The Mangold film, the Charmin Obaid-Chinoy Rey film. We got a story coming up about Rey being seen by some people, I don't know who these people are, but Rey is being this tentpole character that the whole future of Star Wars on the big screen seems to rest. But if we want to go through some of Simon's accolades, obviously The Martian, his work on X-Men: Days of Future Past, like I said, Rebels, working with J.J. Abrams on The Force Awakens, working with guys like Ridley Scott. But at the same time, on the other side of that coin, you've got, X-Men Dark Phoenix, which was terribly reviewed. Not a lot of fans of that. You got the 2015 Fantastic Four film.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That was a big blow. That was a blow to Simon's career, and something that I believe opened the door for his first departure from Lucasfilm and Star Wars. He was slated to write the Josh Trank Boba Fett film.
Right.
And he also was working with Josh Trank on that Fantastic Four film. So,
and of course, Trank was really the guy that seemed to take the fall for Fantastic Four, rightly so, from what I've heard about the background. But you're saying that left a little bad taste with Kinberg, too.
Well, I think it was Simon who presented Josh Trank to Lucasfilm in the first place.
Okay.
So, yeah. So Simon, moved on to other things, and he certainly has been busy, and his success rate is varied. Jason, did you say he's slated to direct the trilogy, or is he just going to produce and write them? Because he has directed a few films.
No, I was saying that I didn't say he was directing. I said he's a triple threat. He has directed, he is a director, he is a writer, he is a producer. So
right.
He knows all those sides of it from what we're talking about. He's developing this. So write and produce, I believe, is what they're bringing him in to do for Lucasfilm on this trilogy. No director has been named.
All right. Well, I asked an insider source about whether or not Simon is going to be taking over for Stephen Knight, who departed from the Charmin Obaid-Chinoy Rey film, because I just felt like the timing,
Sure.
We just learned Knight was departing. And
Stephen's the second or third writer attached to that film.
But I was told no. I was told this is a different thing based on a pitch from Simon Kinberg.
Okay.
Now, what confuses me, though, is the trilogy notion and the notion that this is going to be episodes 10 through 12. Because ever since Disney has taken over Lucasfilm, they inherited a sequel trilogy that was in the works. But Kathleen Kennedy has gone on the record several times saying that Star Wars' future is not in trilogies anymore. They're just going to make films. And the films will be interconnected, yeah, sure, but there's not going to be Roman numerals attached to them.
Well, they cut that out of the marketing, with home video releases and stuff. But I was just going to say, when's the last time we believed anything Kathleen Kennedy ever said?
Well, I know, but I mean, she has said that.
Record,
She's gone on the record as saying that they were going to get away from trilogies. They felt like it boxed them in too much or whatever. Well, they haven't been putting out anything, so I think maybe they're a little more open-minded to approaches that they have sort of swept under the rug. Maybe they're pulling the rug back and getting that stuff out and running with it again, meaning trilogies. So I think Kinberg came to them with a trilogy pitch.
Right. And I think it was, I remember Kennedy saying that. It was probably a silly thing. I don't know why you would talk about boxing yourself in. Why would you rule that out as a possibility? It should the story should really determine the medium, whether it be a Disney Plus, whether it be a film, or whether it be 3 films. I think that's kind of silly to say, oh, you know what? Everybody's expecting us to do trilogies because it just so happened that the first 3, the 9 Star Wars films were part of a trilogy. So I'm going to go out there and I'm going to say, no, we're not doing trilogies anymore, so that we can subvert that expectation, because that's what they love to do, is subvert expectations. So they like to go out there and make these proclamations. But I think you're right. This was what we're learning is this is a pitch from Kinberg. He obviously went in and pitched it as a trilogy. We think that's the case. Now, whether or not it's 10 through 12, people commenting on this inside and outside the organization, no one by name, by the way. None of this is officially announced by Lucasfilm. These are all exclusives from outlets like Deadline and Hollywood Reporter. It seems to be split, Jim. Some people are saying it's 10 through 12. Some people are saying, nope, it's a completely separate thing and not part of the episodes, quote unquote.
Well, George had always mapped out Star Wars to be a 4 trilogy, 1 through 12 experience as far as the saga goes. He had always envisioned a 12 film saga. And then he cut that in half because he got tired and divorced. So,
in that order.
So, everything came screeching to a halt. But the idea of doing episodes 10 through 12, I don't know. One of the first things Lucasfilm did when Disney took over was, I say one of the first thing they did was they canceled the Clone Wars. Then after that, they sent out sort of a Bible to people writing for Star Wars, kind of a set of rules and guidelines. And amongst those rules and guidelines was no more Roman numerals. And with the promotion of The Force Awakens and the sequel trilogy, there were no Roman numerals. The only place you saw the Roman numeral was in the crawl.
I've got a real life anecdote about Roman numerals that just happened to me at a Subway. I was with a coworker, and Subway's running a promotion to win
the
tickets
sandwiches
to the Subway, the sandwich place. And they're running a promotion in there where you can win tickets to the Super Bowl, the Super Bowl in 2025. And someone that I was with said, "Oh, look, you can win tickets to Super Bowl licks because it's Roman numeral LIX." And they had no idea that. So maybe we have, as a society, lost touch with Roman numerals when you get past a certain point. But I think we can count from 1 to 12 in our Roman numerals. That never bothered me. And I did dislike the fact that as the films would get re-released on home video and things, that they did away with those Roman numerals because they were burned in my brain. It's the only reason anybody our age gave a crap about Roman numerals was because of Star Wars.
That's so true. That's so true. Hey, how many years left does former Subway spokesperson Jared Fogle have left in prison? LIX. That's how many. Okay.
Holy crap. So I was going through some of these, connections that Simon might have to Star Wars. Other than, obviously he worked directly, on as a consultant again with JJ, but he also was involved with the Logan film that was directed by James Mangold. He produced that. Do you remember the remake of Murder on the Orient Express with Kenneth Branagh? That also had Daisy Ridley in it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of these connections and where he might, what can we know? What can we learn? Perhaps clues about what he might be putting together as far as a movie. The other thing that I found is that he's extraordinarily well liked. There's not very many people that have anything bad to say about him. And one of the pieces, they said he's such a safe choice. Such a safe choice, Jim, that he's been tapped at one point back in 2020 to write a Battlestar Galactica film. That was a piece that was in Hollywood Reporter back in the spring of 2020. That hasn't happened. And then as recently as this past May, he's been attached to a Star Trek reboot of sorts, a Star Trek film. So this guy seems to be seen as the franchise savior in some ways. What franchise has he's worked on X-Men? He's being tapped to do Star Wars. He's done the Logan, the Deadpool, the Wolverine, got Star Trek, got Battlestar Galactica, perhaps. I mean, everybody wants a piece of this guy for their franchise.
Mm-hmm. I think the success of Deadpool and Wolverine really amped his stock up enough to where Kathleen Kennedy said, okay, I'll take a meeting with him again. What the hell? And he came in and pitched this trilogy, and they started thinking about it and said, wow, Simon Kinberg, he could really save our butts here right now, because we got everything we tried doing, we can't get off the ground. From what I understand, there's a lot of internal stuff going on at Lucasfilm where they have all these voices at the table and they can't agree on any direction to go in with anything. So that's why things have been sort of stalling out as far as the cinema presence of Star Wars, and why there have been 14 upwards, maybe even higher, films announced that never saw the light of day or that are still somewhere in the pipeline. I don't know. When you think about the number of films, you got Taika Waititi, Sean Levy, 3 from Kinberg. You got the Dave Filoni. You got the James Mangold. You got the Charmin Obaid-Chinoy. You got the Donald Glover Lando film.
You got the
what else is
the Rogue Squadron movie that seemed to
Patty Jenkins.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm looking at the hash marks here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
10
X.
films.
If you're keeping track in Roman numerals, it's X.
That aren't, and the Dave Filoni film 11, the Dave Filoni.
Yeah. Oh, 11. Right. Yeah, the team up. Yeah.
So yeah, they just keep it just keeps piling up.
Oh, did you mention of course, we have the Donald Glover? That's the Lando is going to be a film now. Okay, you mentioned that. All right.
I did. And of course, we got the Baby Yoda movie coming in 2026. That's just so much in the pipeline, and reports say that some creatives working on these projects are fully aware of everything else that's going on in Lucasfilm, while others are working in a bubble and they don't know what's going on. It just is an odd way to develop these productions with so many oars in the water right now.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think they're just looking for whatever can get off the ground and get Star Wars back into theaters on a regular basis. They're desperately trying to find anything they can.
It feels like they've created like a dozen or so little laboratories, and whoever develops the cure first gets the prize. And the cure is, a bona fide idea that they can get to screen, to get to cinemas, to get Star Wars back on the big screen. It's very odd. There was another piece that I also thought was really interesting, was a Hollywood Reporter, and they're talking about, this is by Boris Kitt, and they're talking about how the Kinberg trilogy rumors, I guess it's got to be rumored until Lucasfilm officially puts the word out.
I think one of the
stronger than
one of the trade magazines got confirmation from Lucasfilm, and I think Simon Kinberg himself actually confirmed.
Yeah, it may be at this point at Deadline with the initial article. It said Lucasfilm and Disney are not commenting, but it may be one of those things. It's obviously with these stories, I always feel like it's the agency that reps the talent that's getting these things into the trade so that they can, their stock increases. Not that a guy like Kinberg needs it, but everybody needs it. Hollywood is, what have you done for me lately? It doesn't matter that you had a big hit with Deadpool and Wolverine. Months have gone by, what have you done for me lately? But this story...
Hey, you know what? Let me just say, Star Wars fandom is also, what have you done for me lately? And lately, as of now, is The Acolyte. So...
Right.
Fan reaction to this Simon Kinberg trilogy reveal is beyond muted. There is no heartbeat. Just a selection of what some people are saying on the Rebel Force Radio Facebook group.
Yeah.
Anne says, when I'm sitting in a theater or at home with Disney Plus watching it, I'll believe it. Melissa says, I don't get excited for Star Wars news anymore, and I really wish I did. Robbie says, yeah, not excited at all. The news mostly made me feel anxious and nervous about the Star Wars future. Mont says, I'll believe it when I have my popcorn and milk duds in my movie theater seat. Lucasfilm is a mess, and it starts at the top. Heath, there's absolutely no reason whatsoever to believe that it's going to happen. Jared, I've reached the point of apathy. This trilogy announcement in the trades barely warrants a shrug. Wake me up when Andor comes back on.
Wow.
Well, there's more. But, I mean, at least Ryan says, why wouldn't anybody be excited about this? He was involved in making some top-tier Star Wars content. This is awesome news. So,
all right,
it's
Ryan.
but Ryan's keeping the faith. God bless him. And he's right. Simon Kinberg was a co-creator of Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah.
Which most fans adore. But I think Simon departed the show midway through its run, like after season 2. And I say that because I was at the premiere for the Ahsoka Darth Maul showdown. That whole thing. They did a premiere event for it. And I was there with Kyle, and Simon Kinberg was there. And that was the last time I ever saw Simon make an appearance or any sort of connection to Star Wars. So I think after season 2, Simon was done with Rebels. And if you ask me, I can see a difference in the second half of the series run compared to the first half.
Yeah, and in none of these stories that have come out has anybody pointed to a specific contribution that Simon made to Star Wars, the lore, the stories. He was one of a number. I mean, obviously that was Filoni's show. Rebels was absolutely Filoni's show. And then as far as his consultant, being a consultant on Force Awakens, we don't know. I don't recall JJ ever saying that, this was an idea that Simon had. I think the one story says that he was brought in along with Lawrence Kasdan to basically break the story, and Michael Arndt. So he goes back to the Michael Arndt, Lawrence Kasdan days, which predated JJ when Arndt was still on the project.
Beyond that, they were really trying to establish a path for the direction Star Wars storytelling would go in the future, which for some reason, after The Force Awakens was released, after The Force Awakens was shot and they started working on The Last Jedi, Kathy Kennedy threw that out the window and just wanted each director to put his own take on it.
Right. You got Colin Trevorrow in there to do his thing with Episode 9. You had at one point, and of course we know how Episode 8 went.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So one good thing about the Simon Kinberg announcement, though, is he is a seasoned veteran. He does have experience working on gigantically budgeted productions.
Yep.
He's well liked. He knows his way around a film studio. He's worked on Star Wars before. And with Dave Filoni higher up in the executive ranks at Lucasfilm, and Carrie Beck, also from Rebels, still on board at Lucasfilm, Simon has some genuine support in the executive ranks there. Yes. I think Filoni really liked working with Simon when they were working together on Rebels. And I think that may have also greased the skids a little bit. And who knows? Dave Filoni and Simon may have been working casually, breaking story ideas for years at this point. You never know what goes on behind closed doors and in unofficial capacities. So I think that has a lot going for it, as opposed to bringing in inexperienced noobs. I'm looking at you, Acolyte crew. I'm looking at you, Charmin Obeid Chinoy. Let's move it up a notch and bring in somebody who actually has Star Wars credibility.
I would love it.
And Hollywood.
I would love it if that was a motivation for bringing in Kinberg. It's time to let the professionals come in and helm this franchise.
I think that's what people want.
Definitely. Well, this Hollywood Reporter piece about Star Wars movies Race for Rey, they're framing this particular writer, Boris Kidd, is framing this as the race for Rey and the future of the franchise on the big screen. I don't want to belabor the point, but I thought this was a very interesting piece, particularly because the whole premise of it, Jim, is that it starts out, it says, forget the Death Star, the most coveted weapon in the Star Wars movie arsenal is the character of Rey Skywalker. So they say that essentially Rey is in some ways maybe the only valuable cinematic asset that Star Wars has right now. This is a source that is close to the franchise telling Hollywood Reporter. I'm going to repeat that because I thought, I was like, huh? I mean, I like Rey, but to say that Rey Skywalker is, quote, the most valuable cinematic asset, in some ways maybe the only one that Star Wars has right now. I mean, if I'm Grogu, I don't know how I feel about that. If I'm the Mandalorian, how do I feel about it? I mean, Star Wars is many things, but running low on valuable cinematic assets, it is not, in my opinion.
Well, let's discuss then who among the character ranks of Star Wars currently active, let's say.
Well, okay, currently active.
I mean, and I don't want to talk about deep fake de-aging and all of that stuff.
Okay.
I want to put live people in front of a camera and have them act out in a movie. Who is still a valuable commodity?
Darth Vader.
Okay. And that can easily be done.
Right.
Because he's a man in a mask and armor, and anyone can play him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, can you name the guy who played Darth Vader in the Kenobi series? Quick.
No,
you can't. So I mean, anybody can go in. Right. You know, the days of having Dave Prowse around, unfortunately, are over. Yeah. Same with Bob Anderson, and Hayden doesn't really. He doesn't really fit the armor. Let's face it. Hayden Christensen does not fit the armor. You need to have somebody big in there and someone who could command space, and that's what these guys they bring in to play Vader nowadays can do, and it can be anyone.
Right.
So
the other
he's
character
a good choice
that I would throw out, Jim, is Yoda. I think there's a lot of potential stories with Yoda, and you're not super dependent on an on-screen performance. But let's face it, we all want to hear Frank Oz.
But I even think in his best days, Yoda is not a leading man. Can Yoda carry a movie with all the backward talk and shuffling around and limitations that a puppet provides? I love Yoda. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But can you start building the franchise around 900-year-old puppet Yoda? No, you can't.
Jim, there was a time where you and I might have had this conversation, perhaps prior to the Ahsoka live-action series, and you and I might have said, Ahsoka could very well be a character that could be the most valuable asset. And I catch it in my throat because to this day, I'm still disappointed with her portrayal, her live-action portrayal. Just doesn't have the heart, doesn't have the warmth, doesn't have the it factor that the animated version had. So, but I might have one time had said Ahsoka.
And I think Ahsoka, if they can refine the character a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have Rosario Dawson. She's a bona fide movie star.
Right?
Possibly. But again, do you want to bank the future of Star Wars on an alien woman? I mean, I think
That
you
is
really have to
specious,
look
sir.
at. Well, maybe it is, but you know what? We're all human beings watching
Right.
this stuff,
Right.
and we have to have an avatar within these films so we can connect with them. Luke Skywalker was the most perfect of avatars to have in Star Wars.
Right.
Anakin was okay, but he's just sort of aloof and distant. Rey seems to be a worthy contender for solid avatar for the audience. And again, she's still young enough where you can really continue the franchise, move it forward with her locked in for the next 20 years. 20 years.
Right.
Even longer, maybe. I mean,
so it sounds like you might agree with another source that says when that the closet of potential characters is a little bare. That's a quote from, again, none of these people are being named in the story, but someone in Lucasfilm said that referring to the pantheon of potential characters to feature in a film, the closet is a little bare.
Well, you have Rey, and Oscar Isaac, Poe Dameron. I mean, you could surround her with the same supporting cast. Drop in John Boyega's Finn, but they kind of broke that character. And
they sure did.
Rey is the one that they just completely didn't destroy because Poe Dameron totally emasculated in The Last Jedi, getting slapped in the face by purple-haired women, and it was just a
it's a great point. She's sort of the last character standing that had a satisfying arc. I was just so shocked when I read that they were saying that she was the most valuable cinematic asset. But as we just sort of revealed when we go through the other contenders,
deep.
She's on a short list.
Yeah. I mean, really, you can't build a trilogy around Darth Vader either. It would be great to see him in an occasional one-off movie here or there doing Darth Vader things in the name of the Sith and the Empire.
Right.
But he's not a protagonist. He's not somebody that we can relate to as an audience. We can't connect. We can't have that cinematic avatar for the audience. Rey is it. And she's been overloaded with all the legacy stuff she needs to carry the franchise forward. She has the Millennium Falcon. Last time we saw her, she was hanging out at the Lars homestead.
Right.
Granted, it's a bit of a fixer-upper, but I think in future films, I mean, how cool would it be if she turned that place all high-tech and made that her base of operations off of Tatooine? I mean, that would be a weird twist.
Where do you think Chewie ended up? Did he end up with Rey?
Yeah, you can easily just slot Chewie in any Star Wars film. Same with 3PO and R2.
Right.
Boom, Star Wars. You got it.
Right.
Rey has everything. She's got
the
Luke's
ship,
saber.
She's got the Wookiee. She's got the lightsabers.
She's got the whole thing. So, yeah, she is the most valuable asset. I have to agree. And I don't need any insiders telling me this. I think it's pretty darn obvious.
Yeah.
That the entire future of the franchise does rest on this character's shoulders. I'm not saying that the entire future is all Rey stories all the time. A new supporting cast of characters can surround her and eventually rise up into the ranks of like leading roles. They can be emerging characters. And that's how Star Wars works the best, is when characters get introduced and their importance rises up as the story goes on. You could say that for all of the original trilogy characters. Han got introduced as a scoundrel pirate, and he ended up being a hero of the rebellion. Luke got introduced as a simple farm boy. He became a great Jedi Knight. And Leia did what Leia does. It just kept getting better with time.
When you break it down the way we are in terms of, well, what are the other options? obviously Rey starts to emerge as the winner. When I read the quote about her being so valuable, I was sitting here thinking about it from the perspective of people that are sitting around waiting for the next Star Wars film. And we've talked about this quite a bit since the Charmin Obaid-Chinoy film was being talked about, is there a clamoring? Is there a desire amongst not just that, I'm not talking about just diehard Star Wars fans. We'll watch anything, obviously. Look at The Acolyte. But beyond that, movie fans, casual Star Wars fans, is there a fervor to see what the hell happened to Rey? I'm dying to know. Or is that the task of the story, the folks telling the story and the filmmakers to make those people want to find out what happened to Rey next? Through buzz, marketing, hype, all of that.
Well, that's a good question. And when it comes to Rey, one thing you cannot argue with is the box office success of the Star Wars sequel trilogy. The first film opened up being the biggest one of all time domestically, and then the next two made over, $1 billion each?
Yeah.
So...
yeah, even the third one, which was so derided, it made $1 billion, so...
yes. Now, granted, it did feel like the sequel trilogy kind of fizzled out, and the box office did reflect that because each additional film following The Force Awakens showed lower box office numbers. But still, over $1 billion apiece is nothing to sneeze at. I don't think that the sequel trilogy fizzled out because people got sick of Rey. I think the sequel trilogy fizzled out among the perception of the audience is because the story failed the character. Not the other way around. The character didn't fail the story failed the character.
All the characters in a lot of ways.
And to have Rey be the focus of that entire sequel trilogy, have Daisy Ridley still being very young and able to carry on with the role for several years, it's a good opportunity to maybe revive the whole idea of the Rey era of Star Wars. Like I said, they invested so much in the character. They gave her everything. Mm-hmm. The Falcon, Chewie, you name it. I mean, she just, and heir to the Jedi. She most certainly is. So I think maybe she can present a new Jedi Order, which is one of the rumored titles for the Rey film coming from Charmin Obaid-Chinoy. It's being referred to by everyone as the new Jedi Order film. Mm-hmm. So she's going to reshape the Jedi Order. So they'll get away from old monks walking around in baggy cloaks and robes and things, and maybe make the Jedi a new vision of the Jedi. Make them a little more sleek and kick-ass. Yeah. And not so just bogged down by all their rules and everything. But you still have to keep the balance, though. You can't let it slip to the dark side. Otherwise, mass destruction will occur. So, it's just a new Jedi Order for a new era. Would be really cool to see, as long as the story lives up to the hype and the standards and what we expect as fans.
Yeah,
without trying to reinvent the wheel.
A couple of behind-the-scenes tidbits here. The writer says that the Charmin Obaid-Chinoy Rey film that was revealed with fanfare in April 2023 at Star Wars Celebration in London, he says, could have already been in production were it not for some unanticipated headwinds, with writers rotating around more than R2-D2's Chrome Dome. That's the problem, is that these are no longer unanticipated headwinds. They're very anticipated, as reflected by some of the comments, Jim, that you shared with the Rebel Force Radio listeners about the Kinberg announcement. We are anticipating all of this drama and stagnation at Lucasfilm, and some of them try to justify it. They go, well, it's just a different way of development. It's a different way of development. There's so much parallel work going on. But to me, it just seems very chaotic, unorganized, and, throwing some rats in a maze and seeing who gets the cheese first.
Yeah, a different way of development and a brand new way of wasting money like nobody's business.
Yeah, these scripts aren't free. These scripts and these revisions are not free, right?
John says, I need Star Wars to go dormant for a few years. Let's do the 80s and 90s again. Just books and games and comics. I want them to make me want more like I did back then. Nah, I don't want to go back to that. I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait. I mean, man, those years between 80 and 83 when Han was frozen in carbonite, they went on forever. I mean, they froze Han in carbonite and left us hanging there for 3 flipping years, over 1,000 days.
Yeah,
I can't believe I survived it. I'll say that. I can't believe
the horses. The horses. I think about that sometimes too, even with the prequels and the anticipation between Jedi and Phantom Menace. Like I don't ever want to go back, and the time gap. Like Phantom Menace is older than the gap between Return of the Jedi and the Phantom Menace. Like the time as you get older and. Seems like nothing, but it was killer. 3 years was excruciating. 2 years was excruciating between sequel films. Now it seems like not. Look at Andor season 2. That's been over 2 years by the time we actually get to it. So, and that's a TV show.
Yeah, so you do have to wait. There is still room for anticipation in modern Star Wars. Well, we'll see. We'll see if these films can get off the ground. I predict 2 years of development. I mean, let's see, how far along is Kinberg in this story? How deep into development is he? And how many roadblocks will Lucasfilm put up in his way between now and then? And when will we hear the announcement that he has left the production? I mean, that's really how we've been conditioned to think as fans with every new announcement that comes from Lucasfilm. And I'll tell you what, it's hard to maintain confidence when these things are happening. We have the Mando and Grogu film coming in 2026. The new Jedi Order film with Daisy Ridley, now looking for its 4th writer. That one was expected to happen December 2026. The Charmin Obaid-Chinoy film, I don't think we'll see it till 2028 or 2029. James Mangold, Dawn of the Jedi movie. We'll see. I mean, we know Bo Willimon from Andor is working on the script, and it appears that Mangold may be available to dive deep into developing the story next year. So there's a possibility that thing could hit maybe in 2027. The Lando movie, written by Donald and Stephen Glover, in development forever, originally a TV show, now being restructured into something else since they let Justin Simeon off the project. And they let him go like a year and a half ago. So, I mean, we should be hearing something about the development of this Lando show at any time now, or Lando movie, whatever it is. The Dave Filoni Star Wars movie, that's not going to happen until the end of the decade. Taika Waititi's Star Wars film, your guess is as good as mine. That was announced 4 years ago, coming next month.
And there's been nothing from Taika that gives me any confidence. He jokes about it more than anything when he's asked.
The Sean Levy Star Wars film possibly could be moved up to the front of the line if development goes okay on it. Otherwise, we have no idea. Rogue Squadron, also announced in 2020, was supposed to be released in 2023. And we're hearing it still has a heartbeat, but we have no proof of that. And then, of course, there's Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy, which was announced in 2017.
Yeah.
Shoot, I think that might have
before the episode 8 even hit theaters. That was announced.
It might have even been 2016. So we'll see about that. But he's too busy doing Knives Out movies now. Well, he could be doing those for the next 30 years.
Sure.
So he could be like the Barbara Broccoli of Knives Out, and
Absolutely.
just keep working on the same thing forever.
And once Daniel Craig ages out of that character, they'll just get another actor to play him.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of Star Wars fans would prefer if Ryan stuck with the old Knives Out scene and, didn't get his lightsaber out ever again. Also, that's not even mentioning the projects by J.D. Dillard and the Game of Thrones guys and, others who just left, and that was it for their projects. They just died.
Right.
We have no idea what they were working on.
This is Rebel Force Radio, your source for the Force, with Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack. The galaxy is listening.
We're already gearing up for Skeleton Crew premiering December 6th. A really fun holiday season with after shows, live after shows after each episode of Skeleton Crew. More to come on that. But we got a trailer, Jim. We've got a brand new trailer, and we're going to do our customary Rebel Force Radio shot-by-shot, scene-by-scene analysis of this trailer. So you tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready, Freddie.
All right. Let's do it. So this was the trailer that was just released. And
what are you in for?
So, one of the things that we've been observing with this so far, what we've seen is that this is it feels like a very earthbound story in a lot of ways. Here you got the kids obviously waiting outside maybe the principal's office at the school. I mean, it's hard to get more quintessential Americana, Anytown, USA, we could say, than that. Mm-hmm. And I have to say that this can't be by accident. There's got to be a method to the madness. There's got to be a reason to juxtapose these very real world scenarios with Star Wars. And the one thing that came to my mind, Jim, is maybe it's almost like when you ride one of these rides, one of these immersive rides, at an amusement park that takes place in one of these, in Star Wars or Indiana Jones or something like that. That might be the feeling that we get watching these kids navigate the galaxy far, far away. You were talking about avatars. This is a whole new avatar. And so surrounding them in these very familiar environments to sort of kick the story off, again, just might be what they're actually going for. I don't think it's an accident.
Well, this is a planet, from what I understand, is sort of off the map, off the beaten path when it comes to the rest of the Star Wars galaxy. It might even be a situation where they're what Star Trek would consider to be like an undiscovered planet that they have to, they don't want to violate the Prime Directive with these guys or whatever. It could be something like that. StarWars.com had a conversation posted with one of the producers on the show, Chris Ford, who is one of the co-creators along with John Watts. And he revealed that no one in the Star Wars galaxy is aware of this planet the kids live on. He said it's the story of kids who happen to live on what they think of as a boring planet. It seems like the suburbs, and nothing ever happens. And one day they find an old spaceship and it blasts them off out into the galaxy. But finding their way back quickly becomes complicated. They realize that once they're out there, that no one's ever heard of their home planet. So that's why they're going to be lost in space, is because no one could give them directions home. There's no gas station they can pull over to and get out and ask for directions. Everyone in the Star Wars universe, they have the Google Maps, and their planet is not on it. These kids
they've never heard of it. Yeah.
So it could be like we're talking about avatars for the audience. This could be an avatar for planet Earth.
Right.
That we're seeing on the show. I do have to say that information from the interview with Chris Ford was later deleted off of StarWars.com. So they
Parts
felt like
of the
maybe
interview were taken out. That's crazy.
Yeah. So they edited the interview to remove that section about the kids' planet, but that's the intel.
So it must
we
be
can report
important.
to.
It must be, or they feel that it's important enough to the story that that's a spoiler of some sort. Kind of odd.
Yeah. They're going to premiere on December 3rd with 2 episodes. I'm sure this is ground that will be covered right out of the gate when it comes to the story. So, right. I mean, we should have spoiler alerted it, I guess, but you know, if you really want to,
how impactful that would be. This idea of being from a nowhere planet where nothing happens. We've seen this now twice. We saw this with Luke Skywalker and Tatooine, and we saw it with Rey on Jakku. Both of those characters thought they were from backwards planets that no one had ever heard of or no one cared about. In this case,
that's sort of an attitude, but in reality, Jakku and Tatooine are very connected to the Star Wars galaxy. And the reason I say that is because you see an Imperial presence on Tatooine, and you see a First Order presence on Jakku. It's not as if the characters are surprised by the sudden authority that shows up. In this case, I think in Skeleton Crew, whatever planet they're from is completely isolated from the rest of the galaxy. And they might not be aware of what's going on out there, and the galaxy itself is not aware of what goes on this planet because they just don't know about it. So it's kind of an interesting twist that they're going to throw into this, because I can imagine that some of the technology that gets revealed to these kids are going to lose their minds.
Yeah, and there's a reference, I believe, in this trailer to Old Republic credits. And it makes you wonder if this planet hasn't been in some ways isolated, protected, lost to the events of the Empire. If they're still using or talking, if these kids are still talking about Old Republic credits. But yeah. We already know now with Ahsoka that we have alternate galaxies, alternate universes.
Well, that's true. Yeah. So maybe they are in an alternate universe, with similar humans and maybe other species from the Star Wars galaxy populating their planet. I believe in one of the clips from an earlier bit of footage released, we saw a hammerhead out on the lawn of one of those suburb towns as the kids were going to the school bus or whatever.
Yeah.
But
the Ithorian was out, I don't know, waving, grabbing the newspaper from the driveway. Very urbane. All right, so let's start this again. So you got the kids here. It looks like maybe they're waiting for the principal or the teacher or somebody.
What are you in for?
Looks like she's being sort of shown as the tough one, the one with all the attitude, and maybe the leader of the group is what I think we're looking at, perhaps.
And something of a daredevil as she goes racing her bike. It appears between 2 trains.
Yeah,
they have similar technology to what we see in the Star Wars universe. It's not as sleek looking. It looks more earthbound.
Yeah, look at these cars. Look at these speeders.
Yeah, they look like they're from
the 50s.
Yeah, the 50s and 60s, those cars do. So I think there's going to be a lot of parallels between Earth and the planet the kids are from.
Right.
I found something buried in the wood.
All right, so this is the discovery of the ship that is going to take them on their adventure here. So very Goonies, very Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm.
Buried in the wood.
Exactly.
Dad.
This is unacceptable. Do you understand?
Back at school, you saw a droid in the background. So they're not completely disconnected from the Star Wars universe.
There you go. You're right. Looks like one of those Elon Musk Tesla robots that you can buy for 30 grand.
It seems like a lot of technology is at least more modernized than what we have on planet Earth, but they're still isolated from the rest of the galaxy, from what I can gather.
Yeah.
What do you think it is?
Oh, we learned something about this little guy, Neil. Everyone's been saying that he's a Max Rebo, and apparently he's not. That was also part of that StarWars.com interview. I don't know why they didn't just make him a full-blown Max Rebo.
I know. Well, we can't do that. That'll destroy the mystery of Max Rebo. That will completely unravel the entire musical number from Jabba's Palace if we make this kid the same as Max. They definitely come from some sort of human-elephant crossbreeding I don't want to know anything more about.
Well, so the one kid discovers the ship, then he gets all of his friends to come, and now they're all investigating it together.
Ship opens up. They go in.
Don't touch anything.
Now everything's turned on in the ship.
Yeah, everything turns on. It's almost like, oh, the ship knows that there's people on board. And there they go.
And off they go.
Dang.
Into hyperspace.
Yeah. And it looks like Dad's there to see. Is this Dad, I think?
Yeah. He's wearing glasses. Uh-huh. And Star Wars streaming shows are becoming so comfortable with showing characters in the Star Wars universe bespeckled. You know, they did it with that Pershing, Dr. Pershing from Mandalorian, and now the kid's dad has glasses on. And I don't know. I just think in a society as advanced technology that the Star Wars universe has, I mean, don't they have LASIK eye surgery? I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember in Star Trek, Kirk put on spectacles, and it was a big deal because he was allergic to the treatment that they had in the 24th century or whatever it was. So he's allergic to the Star Trek version of LASIK, so he had to wear those glasses. All right, so there they go, hyperspace.
What did you do?
Boy, they look terrified, like maybe they've never been on a ship that went into hyperspace. So
I believe that's the truth. Yeah. Well, I don't think
they're not well traveled.
Hyperspace technology probably isn't a thing on their planet. That's why the rest of the galaxy is unaware of their presence.
Because there's no travel to or from this particular planet. Yeah. Interesting.
What did you do? We're lost. Really lost.
Lost in space.
Stay together. We just need.
So somehow they end up docking at some sort of space station, or this might be what Jimmy was talking about, the gas station. They're about to ask for some directions here.
Yeah, they pulled over.
Stay together. We just need some directions home.
Ooh, some cool characters here that they're going to meet.
Is that a little kangaroo type character?
Yeah.
What is that thing?
It's got like sloth hands.
So we'll be getting some weird CGI creatures in this show.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe that's
kind of Star Wars. You know, this character, this is a little Star Warsy. This has got a little bit of that Rick Baker kind of vibes. The hairy creature. At least it's not one of those, peachy, flesh-toned sequel trilogy characters.
Oh, true.
True. It's got some fur on him.
He's wearing like suspenders with some sort of chest plate, and he's serving up bowls of soup. Very exciting. Very exciting.
Yes.
Come on, kid. Pay up. Whoa.
Let's take a look at off-world Jawas. Wait a minute.
Well,
they're not off-world Jawas. What's going on here?
Well, they're Tatooine Jawas.
Yeah.
Probably just going, heading back to Tatooine. The kids have these gold bars, and these are the Old Republic credits you're speaking of?
Yes, the Old Republic credits, yeah. And I think I think this is in this where there's a line about Old Republic credits. So it just made me wonder, so this, perhaps this planet was sort of lost in time or lost to time. But I wanted to see, here's the bar. We've got some more of these. We can make out maybe another one of these creatures here sitting there. Alien. I'm kind of digging these aliens. I think they're kind of interesting, relatively speaking.
Hey, whoa, where'd you two find an Old Republic credit?
There it is. Where'd you find an Old Republic credit? So right away, the suspicions of these, undesirables here are going to be raised. Like, oh, where do we find this? Where are these people from? So this puts them in danger.
Over here. Quick.
So they
I'll get you, hon.
cause a diversion. Jude Law offers assistance and apparently a starship. Or maybe that's their ship. And
that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's theirs. Well, he's sort of gesturing here on the ramp like he's welcoming them into his ship. Maybe it is his ship.
Maybe it is. Kids are on the run.
We'll make a partnership. But we have to move fast. I need you to take the controls.
Okay. Neil?
Let the little elephant boy fly the ship. Elephant boy.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I'm thinking of a whole different elephant boy. All right. All right. December 3rd. Some of this is footage. It feels like we've seen some of this. Oh, now here we go. We've got these. Look at this. We've got characters rappelling in space in these spacesuits. Not really sure what this is about. It's like a spacewalk, but you don't typically see.
I predict they are pirates boarding the starship to loot. And so they have these cords that they've attached to the ship, and they're pulling themselves up toward it. And meanwhile, Major Tom coming home from Peter Schilling, 1983, is playing in the background. So it's really strange to be hearing music from the 80s. I understand they're going for an 80s vibe, but then to apply actual 80s music to the trailer is such a strange thing for these guys to do. But, a lot of times music gets attached to trailers that never appear in the show. I'm not thinking we're going to be hearing Major Tom coming home from Peter freaking Schilling in the actual show. I think this is just a trailer thing that they're doing. Yeah. Jason, you freeze framed it, and we see our very own Urkel, Jaleel White, and his character. I think his character's name is. Do we know his character's name?
Yeah,
I was going to say it was Brutus, but I think that's the name of the Wolfman pirate.
Yes, Brutus is the Wolfman. Please make this guy back here a member of Kanji Club. Can we get a little Kanji Club reference? He kind of has that.
Tell that to Kanji
vibe.
Club. Yeah, well, he's definitely got the vibe.
Yeah.
So it would be nice to see, some continuity happening between some previously released Star Wars material in this show, just to make it feel more consistent with Star Wars. So occasionally you get a Kanji Club appearance or what have you. Jaleel White's character's name is Gunter.
Very German. And I was just looking at the helmet in this guy here in the background. It looks very much like the rebel officers on the Tantive 4. That sort of egg, half of an egg-shaped domed helmet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could have just been a very popular sort of helmet from Star Wars universe.
Yeah, they were all the rage. Everybody had them.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's pick this up here.
Of murderous pirates is coming.
What happened? Oh, these. All right, there. Oh, I think that's the same. That's the same gang we were just looking at. They're coming through a blast door.
Yes.
Pirates.
And Jude Law is talking about said pirates.
Is coming.
Look at this. Look at this nice little apartment here. This looks like you got little flowers back there. You got a couch and some pillows.
Yeah,
Again,
where are they hanging out?
Yeah, where's this? How do they go from the bar to this? Maybe this is Jude's pad.
Ah.
You know?
Yeah, we got to go see Jude Law's place. His character's name is Jana Nawad. Wait, Jana Nawad. Am I saying that right? Jana Narwood.
Jadna Nawad.
Jadna Nawad.
Yeah, Jadna Nawad. I always want to say Narwood, but there's no R in it. It's Jadna Nawad. Yeah.
Nawad. Nawad.
The kids taking up weapons here. Look like they have, I don't know what they've got. Some blasters, maybe.
They have something. Yeah, blasters of some sort.
And the one kid's wearing a helmet. Like, it looks like almost like a World War II helmet back there.
Yeah, right on. G.I. Joe.
Yeah. And we got a droid.
That's their droid friend.
Oh, right.
He has a name, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah. We'll know all this stuff when the show starts, folks.
Yeah.
Look at these.
We're experts on it. We haven't even seen an episode.
Right.
Something's wrong.
Now, this shot right here, which I believe we've seen before, but this shot of this, I mean, man, oh, man. Anytown, USA. But again, as we were saying, this is an accident. It's not like it was lost on the creatives. There's a point to this, and we'll find out what the point is for making it so earthy.
Something's wrong.
They're not going to just turn up. We need to find them.
So we might be flashing back between what's going on with the kids and Jadna Nawad and the parents.
Yeah.
Who are going to be trying to find them. So I think it's going to be an adventure for the parents, too, to some degree.
Yeah, right. Obviously, naturally, they're concerned.
Yes.
So, it is nice, though, that the show will have that kind of grounding where we will go back to their original planet and see what the fallout is of their sudden departure and disappearance.
We're not alone down here.
Oh, and what would Star Wars be without some creatures? This looks like maybe some sort of a snake, some type of snake creature.
Ooh. Similar to that thing we saw in The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Maybe. Or it could be similar to that thing we saw in the Solo movie. The crime boss, snake lady from the beginning of the film on Corellia.
Right. Yes.
Star Wars universe has grown quite a bit.
Yeah.
Booby traps.
Oh, and are those
look at the special effects. Yeah. Yeah, those are, they sure look like X-Wings. But it looks like very little expense was spared, as is the Disney Lucasfilm Star Wars tradition. Throw as much money at it as possible. And keep your fingers crossed that you'll get good results.
Now, this is interesting. So here's Jude Law again, Jadna Nawad, pulling a knife, some sort of blade weapon out of a skeleton, that's skeleton crew, that's probably on this ship, and then it falls down.
And mountains where none dare to go.
Yeah, so it just looks like more of what we've, some beautiful settings here, and like you said, Jim, big explosions, big special effects. This looks like this definitely looks like a lot of production value in this. They've really come a long way since that first Mandalorian season when they're trapped with the volume.
So there's the droid. He's voiced by Nick Frost. His name is SM33.
SM33. Okay. All right.
SM33.
Mountains where none dare to go.
If you hear this, don't give up.
Ooh, now who's that? If you hear this, don't give up. Is this their mom? Maybe sending out, is that the mom sending out a message, or is this?
Don't give up.
Maybe it's the school teacher.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, what a set that was!
Yeah, look at this. This is kind of like when the Goonies find themselves on One-Eyed Willie's ship. This looks like treasure.
Yeah, pirate booty.
Yes.
And this is probably the MacGuffin, this stash of treasure. The pirates are after it, and the kids may have picked up a bit of information or a key or something that the pirates covet. And it's a race to see who can get to this hidden treasure first.
No matter what.
It's just my guess.
There you go.
Should be
December
fun.
3rd. Yeah. That's what I'm looking forward to, is just a romp, something fun.
It's a romp. That definitely looks like a romp. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the after shows. My hype on this is a little muted, I feel. I don't know. Maybe it's just been so much Star Wars streaming content released over the last 5 years. By the way, this week, celebrating the 5th anniversary of The Mandalorian. Wow. The first episode dropped this week, 5 years ago.
That's crazy.
As we were anticipating the release of The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
And The Mandalorian suddenly take our minds off of it.
And then we got hit with COVID, and then we got hit with the writer's strike, and man.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's been an exciting 5 years. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I'm getting more and more excited just about having something new to watch, a new show to watch, and it's Star Wars.
Yes.
We're going to do our after shows. But as far as me sitting here thinking, in these grand terms of Star Wars lore and mythology and all of that, I don't know, this is going to feel like maybe a little bit of a vacation. I feel like some of the pressure might be off with this show. It's not going to be so bogged down as much as I love being bogged down in Star Wars myth and canon and all of that. But this might just be like, a fun diversion in some ways.
Well, you're right. The pressure is off. There isn't all this weight of expectations on this show from the audience.
Right.
Even though I believe it shows, like I said, there's a bit of apathy out there towards Star Wars. And this could be a sleeper hit, though. It's dropping at a great time of the year, holiday season. It's a family-oriented show that families are going to want to watch together. And hopefully it is a success.
Yeah.
It looks great from what I've seen. It has some serious heavy hitters directing episodes, and John Watts, of course, show running. We're dealing with guys who've worked in big franchises and dealt with big budgets and can present fantasy storytelling in a very competent way. So fingers crossed. I think this could be something that surprises people.
I think so too. A little bit of Andor updates we can give you. There's some new Andor footage. Most importantly, it was revealed and announced that Andor Season 2 will premiere on April 22nd, 2025, not the May 4th day that we'd kind of assumed or thought might be the case. So who knows what they'll have up their sleeve by May the 4th. It could also be, maybe they'll give us 2 episodes of Andor or something at that, that week. But because they'll be, if it starts on the 22nd, 29th, there'll be, the 3rd episode will be dropping the week of May the 4th. So who knows?
May 4th lands on a Sunday this year. It appears new releases on Disney Plus have found their way to Tuesday evening. So
yeah,
April 22nd, a Tuesday. And the show will probably drop at around 8 p.m. Eastern. Is that typically when the shows have been dropping?
9. It was 9. Like when they started this with, was that Ahsoka they started it with this Tuesday night thing? 9 p.m. Eastern for me.
Okay. So we'll be rolling with the after shows the following day on Wednesdays. However, during the holiday weeks of Christmas and New Year's, we'll probably be dropping them on Thursdays. And they will be live on YouTube. So you'll be able to call us, and Tyler Page will be there screening calls. It'll be a hoot.
Yeah. No, it's going to be great. And then we'll roll right into Andor season 2. We got a little bit of footage here. The first that we're going to play for you, this was part of the sort of a 2025 sizzle reel that Disney Plus put out. This is, saying, oh, this is all the new stuff that's coming in the new year. And we've isolated just the Andor stuff here. So let's take a look.
Is there no one who can help us?
We need a pilot.
You're thinking like a thief.
I'm thinking like a soldier.
Think like a leader.
So I like that line. That's Luthen doling out some cold hard truth, some lessons to his protege, which I think is really what we're going to find out happens to Cassian in this second season. Is that I think he ends up. My guess is, Jim, he ends up replacing Luthen as the guy, And so it's going to be fun to see Luthen sort of bestow a lot of that wisdom. And, they got two great actors to do this. I can't get enough of Luthen's character, both versions, the flamboyant art shop owner or antique dealer, and then the real Luthen. And so I think it's going to be really interesting. Also nice to see Bix. We're going to be seeing a lot more of Bix in this season. What else did we see here? Not a lot of surprise. New look for Cassian, the shorter hair. And
looks like he's on Yavin right there.
Yes.
He's at the Rebel base on Yavin. And the entire clip begins with what appears to be a protest of some sort. I think people are marching. They have signs, and stormtroopers emerge on the scene. And I think they just start to indiscriminately fire at the gathering. Oof. And everything just blows up into warfare right there in this city plaza where it's all taking place. Because you see, they cut to this plaza area a couple of more times throughout this footage, where you see Cassian firing back at the stormtroopers and all sort of mayhem. Also, you see Cassian apparently stealing a TIE interceptor, which really surprises me because I thought TIE interceptors didn't emerge until the area of time between Empire and Jedi, because we never see them. We don't see them on the Death Star in the original trench run, the Battle of Yavin. They're non-existent. We don't see them anywhere in Empire Strikes Back, but they appear in Return of the Jedi during the Battle of Death Star 2. And so I thought that was just one of those advancements made by the Imperial War Machine as the Civil War was dragging on with the rebellion. But here, this is Andor. All of this takes place prior to the original trilogy. So Cassian apparently is stealing a TIE interceptor, and if you look closely on it, it appears along the solar panels, the fins. There, it appears there's some sort of bombs there or something. Maybe this is being used to deploy some explosives or bombs, because you can see those they look like little round balls on the TIE fighter, and maybe this is a prototype.
That's what I was thinking.
TIE interceptor,
top secret, and it's just a little bit of an Easter egg for the fans. But that's kind of what I was thinking. But that definitely looks like Cassian in there, and then you see him, in the flight suit. I think a few clicks back.
Yeah,
there he is. Yeah.
He's not in a TIE pilot.
No, it's more like an X-wing pilot. The orange jumpsuit, flight suit, jumpsuit. And he gets kind of a little smile. It gets a little smile there at the end, like he realizes he's in something pretty cool. Oh, I think because he blasts. I think he's blasted his way out, and he realizes the power of this particular ship. Maybe.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
They're on board Luthen's ship here. That's definitely Luthen's ship.
Yeah.
And that's when he's having the conversation with Luthen about being a leader. Now here he's back in that city plaza.
Yeah, yes.
And he's opening fire on apparently a group of stormtroopers. Yeah, that's what I believe happens.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is a protest that gets out of hand.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
Got some flame throwing going.
The Empire, again, showing exactly how oppressive and deadly they are to their own citizens, thus prompting more rebellion. And Luthen knows they need a good leader, and he figures Cassian Andor is the guy. So Cassian walks with pride and purpose through the Yavin base, ready to lead.
You know, Jim, when the series was on the first time, I remember us talking about Cassian's character and does he really pull us in? Does he really become a character that we care deeply about? Diego Luna is obviously a great actor and brings a lot of nuance and I think depth to the character. It really wasn't until my second viewing that we watched just this last summer that I really went, wow, I like this character is clicking up on my list of top favorite characters in Star Wars. I really like him a lot.
Advancing toward favorite status. Well, I sure liked him in Rogue One.
Not the favorite, but I was sort of ambivalent about him. Even watching the series the first time, I was just more interested in some of the things that were happening around him that I really wasn't focused on him, but I really focused on him more on the second viewing. And he started becoming more important. So like him a lot.
Remember in season 1 when he was in that, I think it was a hotel room and he had a green girl with him.
Yeah, he did.
He was going out to get the greenies and she wanted I forget what she said, but it was a really odd thing she asked for. And he went and then got arrested.
Right. And he had money and the diary, right?
Yeah, that's right. He had it stashed,
the manifesto,
I think, like over the shower.
Yeah.
And so I wonder, A, if that briefcase is still there, and B, if the girl is still there. Like, where have you been, man? 4 years later.
How long do you think he was? Did they ever really say how long he was on the prison planet?
Oh my God! Well, we had figured it out. I think we had done the math at some point.
We'll have to go back and watch an after show. So, but at any rate, it looks great. It looks great. Now we do have one other little bit of footage that we're going to scrub through. This was footage that was shown at D23 in Brazil. The audio's not great, so we're not going to waste your time with that. But there are some things that I think are important to point out here. So I'm just going to go ahead and mute this so we're not bothered. This is one of those, cell phone cams here. And it's a little sizzle package that they played there. It's got interviews with guys like Tony Gilroy and actors from the show, but there's a few reveals here.
Oh, we see Cassian walking down a hallway with purpose.
Yes.
And a little clip of Tony Gilroy. Here we are on Coruscant, clearly in an area just outside of the Senate Rotunda. And Mon Mothma is walking around. She's probably just out for a breath of fresh air after having to deal with all of the senators and their pods and everything.
Here's Luthen with, what's his assistant's name? Is it May?
Yeah, his assistant.
Not May. I said May. I don't think it's May. I'm thinking Acolyte now.
I don't think so.
But it's a one syllable name. I feel like it's anyway. So here they are. They're walking. There's some green screen back there.
Mm-hmm. It looks like more Coruscant.
Yes,
where we know Luthen is based, and it looks like There's Deidre Mira, and she's probably, I think she's in one of those Imperial briefing rooms that we saw her in season 1. Possibly Coruscant, exterior shots, very industrial looking area. Mon Mothma.
Gripping the lectern as she's
she's
angsty.
white knuckling the lectern. Again, dealing with those alien senators in the pods in the Senate Rotunda. And then Genevieve O'Reilly discusses her character a little bit in this video footage. Here we're seeing outside the Senate Rotunda on Coruscant. And there's Cassian. He's jumping up and down, psyching himself up for the shot. Diego Luna, we're getting a glimpse into his process. Also, you see on the clapboard, the second season of Andor was giving the code name Pilgrim 2. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, and then there's Diego. He's getting all psyched up to do his shot. And more shots of Coruscant. More shots. That's that area just right outside of Coruscant. Obviously, an actual practical location.
Yeah.
Probably somewhere in London.
See the minivans out there.
Yeah, right. So you get a feeling for the size and scale of this particular structure. It looks like if you took a human spine and placed it on a like a rotisserie rack.
That's very vivid. I applaud because Jimmy Mack knows that most of you are just going to be listening to this. So you could get a job as one of the audio description folks, Mac. I think.
Sure. Yeah. I'd be very descriptive.
Oh, and here's the TIE Interceptor, but right there on the set. So they built that damn thing. That is a full-size TIE Interceptor.
Yeah, there it is in the hangar, presumably where Cassian will hijack it, steal it. And this is behind-the-scenes footage where you see them prepping the set for shooting TIE Interceptor, like an advanced TIE Interceptor.
Yeah. So advanced that it doesn't exist yet, according to Star Wars timeline. Here's Cassian drawing his blaster. This is probably more of that riots or protest scene.
Yeah, the protest in the plaza that goes horribly wrong. Bix Atris. I don't even know how to say her name.
Adria Arona. Looks like Arona. Beautiful actress.
Or Jonah.
There we go. There's Luthen and his antique dealer guys with the wig.
Yeah. So we will get Luthen in wig once again in season 2. And there's his accomplice, his assistant, who's a rebel herself, Cassian Andor. Oh, it looks like there's some of the fallout from the big protest in the plaza, as we see a lot of stormtrooper bodies laying around. There's the protest itself.
Yes.
As you can see, stormtroopers arrive, not unlike the final episode of Andor Season 1, where they were protesting in the plaza.
Ooh, and then this
explosion,
is...
stormtroopers.
Yep. Big explosion there.
That looks great. And more shots of Cassian. Oh, there's the E-Wing from that we see in Rogue One. We see an E-Wing flying by, which was the main ship for the rebels.
Now, when I first saw this, I thought this was Saw, but now, it is Saw. Okay.
That's Saw Gerrera.
Saw Gerrera and 2 tubes. There it is. There they are.
2 tubes. Yeah. Saw with hair.
Yes.
And, I don't think he's got any of the cybernetics yet or anything. So I'm really hoping we see the origin of Saw as a cyborg. Cyborg Saw.
Wasn't it rumored or thought that he had a battle with Darth Vader at one point?
That's right. Yeah, that was supposed to be the backstory for Saw Gerrera. And so maybe we'll see that. Maybe Darth Vader will make an appearance.
Boy, what a surprise that would be. I mean, he was in Rogue One. So, Tony Gilroy and company are not immune to that. So you never know. Boy, that would be something. Wouldn't that be a surprise?
Yeah. Fans would be buzzing like crazy over that.
All right, so
Two tubes.
This, I think that's Mon's ride there, going through Coruscant. Some sort of a one tube. This is one tube. They got two tubes. It's like some sort of a tube or a
tunnel.
cave. Tunnel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Manhole something. Deidre Mira
Deidre.
looking concerned.
Yes.
There's Cyril.
Oh,
I was wondering.
Cyril.
I was going to say I've yet to see Cyril.
Now check out his outfit. It looks like a trench coat, like overcoat. This is something we really haven't seen in Star Wars. You got the high collar, but almost something that looks like maybe a necktie that's hanging down in front of him.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He's definitely more of a shaggy do, not quite the military, close cut that he was wearing before. It's
TIE fighter flying overhead.
Yeah.
More of this protest.
Yeah, this will be a big event in Andor season 2. This public protest that goes wrong becomes Tiananmen Square.
Yeah, good analogy. Oh, there it is, Ben Mendelsohn.
Orson Krennic.
Yes.
So we had heard that he would be in season 2. Now this is all the confirmation we need.
Right. Now we have heard rumor that he's used sparingly in season 2. That Krennic is not a main character. He's sort of I don't think cameo. He certainly needed, so it's not gratuitous. But I don't think season 2 is not going to be the adventures of Orson Krennic by any means.
Could be interesting. Could lead us to Jyn Erso or Galen Erso as well.
Mm-hmm.
Surprise!
I feel like Galen has got to be in this, but no confirmation yet. There's the Rebel base there on Yavin. Those familiar screens and terminals.
So maybe we might be dealing with the Rebels settling in Yavin.
Move-in day.
They leave Dantooine and appear on Yavin. And Dantooine was always said to be a planet of tall grass fields.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe we see an environment that is of tall grass fields in this trailer somewhere.
Oh, all right.
However brief they might be, let's keep our eyes open.
Yep, that's definitely Yavin.
Like that.
Right there. Sorry, whoever the brave soul was that was the Bothan spy that took this video there at D23 in Brazil, shifting the camera around, but we still are able to see there's two tubes. And
more Yavin shots.
Yep.
That's most likely exterior Yavin. Oh, and a brief shot of K2SO's shoulder.
Right there. But we do see an X-Wing in the hangar.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. That's where you park them. K2SO's head. And there you see Alan Tudyk wearing all of the CGI gear that he needs to wear, the reflectors, the dots on his face, the weird
mocap
headband. Yeah, mocap suit. That's right.
Yeah. Oh, and some talking
Alan
head
Tudyk.
footage of Alan. Some laughter here, some lighter moments between Alan in his mocap gear and Diego Luna in the cockpit. Looks like Alan. Every time you see anybody acting out with Alan there, everyone's laughing. So.
Oh yeah, a lot of laughs with him. We just chuckle all day with him.
Definitely Coruscant here.
Yes. And there you see Cassian. He's wearing the gear similar to what he's wearing in the TIE Fighter when he steals it. And he's talking to a woman wearing a similar looking outfit. And she's got the severe head bun. And very Deidre Mira-esque, but she's a brunette, not a blonde.
Is it possible this is Luthen's counterpart there? His,
could be.
Assistant?
Yes, could be. Right, could be. Here we see.
Imperial briefing
That's
room?
the Rebel briefing room, possibly from the Mon Calamari ship.
Oh wait, that's a Rebel
we see
briefing
in
room?
Return of the Jedi.
I thought it was Imperial.
Maybe not. Maybe it is Imperial. You know why I said it was the Rebel briefing room from the Mon Cal ship? Is because
right.
The way the bleachers are sort of set up.
Yep.
But it appears they're more like desks that these guys are sitting behind. They're not like sitting on bleacher benches like they were in Return of the Jedi.
Not quite sure what this is.
No.
Maybe a new character here that we're being introduced to. And then this looks like someone is getting on a speeder here. Oh, yep. They got like the camera car set up here.
And there's your tall grass fields. This could be Dantooine.
Dantooine, yes. Yep, there you go. Wouldn't that be fun? That'd be cool to finally see that.
More
Some quick shots
Imperials.
here. This looks like back on the Cassian's planet, his home planet.
Ferrix.
Marvel was Ferrix, yeah. Luthen showing up, someone's apartment. A lot of very quick, a lot of people walking in hauways. I don't recognize these two characters, Jim. Do you?
Jeez, no.
So they might be
look
new.
Like they're, it's like the Scully and
Mulder.
Scully and Mulder.
And the male has his fingers up to his ear, like maybe he's hearing got a radio in his ear or something like that. Looks to me.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe a little love scene here. Ooh.
Wow. He had AirPods in. He was just tapping it to get to the next track.
All right. Looks like two tubes there.
They were not stationed on Jeddah, which is where Saw Gerrera was stationed, of course, in Rogue One.
Right.
With the presence of the two tubes guys, you have to assume this is Saw's base, wherever they are.
Might be Bix there. I can't tell. It's a little dark, shadowy.
Right.
Ship going through Coruscant. More of Mon Mothma. I don't know if that's K2 or if that's just another one of the droids, but might be K2.
Right. It looks like there's 2 or 3 Imperial droids right there. This could be maybe the liberation of K2. Maybe we'll see how he came into possession of the rebels and Cassian and how they were able to deprogram him. Mon Mothma looking very concerned. So we get a lot of concerned Mon Mothma.
Someone's getting
a stormtrooper of some sort being thrown by an Imperial droid. So we'd have to assume that's K2SO. Well, that guy was not a stormtrooper. He was wearing a lot of white and black, but could be like a speeder bike guy.
Yeah, it looked like a little bit of like a scout trooper of some sort. And there's K2 and Cassian in the cockpit. More K2.
Ready for battle.
And I'm not sure who
ship jumping to hyperspace. Don't know who he is. Is that guy Melfi or whatever his name?
Oh, yes, Melshi.
Melshi, is that him?
Yeah, I think that might be Melshi. People were like, "Love Melshi." There's a lot
He's
of love
like the
for Melshi.
wedge. He's like the wedge of Rogue One. It's like
going into hyperspace. Oh, there is the whole Rebel fleet. Wow, that could be when they're departing Dantooine and going to make camp on Yavin.
We shall see. We shall see.
Is. Wow, Andor.
The Dantooine thing. The Dantooine thing is obviously canon. Leia told Tarkin that's where the rebels were, and the Imperials did find evidence of an abandoned rebel base there.
Right.
So you'd have to assume that was where they were at before Yavin. We'll find out if Andor is going to pick up on those threads. I hope it does. I hope they present a Dantooine like the Dantooine that was presented in the expanded universe books with the tall grass fields, and there were these monsters, like creatures that would sort of swim through the grass. It was just craziness.
Cool.
Craziness. So
cool. I do love
how
when
that
they
all pans out.
when they bring these planets to life for the first time, and I do like when they use some of the material from the expanded universe and novels and things like that because
George Lucas did it himself with introducing Coruscant in the prequel films. Coruscant was created for Tim Zahn's Thrawn trilogy. Prior to that, it didn't exist.
Well, I tell you what, we promised a jam-packed show. We got it right here. There's still more to get through, but we're going to have to wait till next week.
Chewie, get us out of here!
What could it be? What are they holding back on? What didn't we get to? Got to come back next week, find out. Wow, lots of fun, lots of great new stuff to look at, lots of visuals, the Skeleton Crew trailer, the smuggled bootleg footage from the D23 event in Brazil for Andor. Man, we got a lot to look forward to as Star Wars fans and certainly as Star Wars podcasters. Looking forward to those after shows. I just, I between Skeleton Crew and Andor starting in April, I feel like the next 6 months of my life are just totally planned out.
Totally. Totally. Plus, we'll be able to cover the big Star Wars celebration event that's happening in Japan next April.
Yeah, so that's completely gone out of my head. That's right. So it's in April. It's not even on my radar. But
I'm assuming some news will be revealed. I don't know whether or not they're going to be live streaming the thing like they have in the past. Because when you're dealing with the Japanese
Celebration London or any of the non-US, did they stream?
Oh yeah. Celebration London was largely streamed. But in the case of Japan, what people need to realize is when they go to these panels, there's going to be a Japanese question, a question asked in Japanese, then you'll get the English translation, then you'll get the English answer, then you'll get the Japanese translation of the answer. Right. So the panels instantly are about half of as much information as you would get in a normal panel. You get in these Japanese panels because so much time is being taken up with the English to Japanese translation. I don't imagine Star Wars Celebration Japan 2025 will be any different than Star Wars Celebration Japan 2008, which I was at with a very small handful of Americans and English-speaking people. I definitely know there's going to be more English-speaking folk at this event next year, just based on what I've been seeing online, because Star Wars Celebration has become such a thing.
Yeah, right.
But I think a lot of people who are going to be making the trip are going to be really surprised at how much of the event itself is presented in Japanese. Because we're in Japan. Yeah.
When in Japan.
You have to be prepared for that.
Right.
Because unlike Star Wars Celebration in Germany, which was largely an English-speaking event, it doesn't quite work that way in Japan, where I think, it's predominantly Japanese-speaking people there.
Right.
And when you're in the big cities, you get some English, but once you get outside the city, it's all Japanese. So I think they're going to really be playing toward the Japanese audience, as they should.
So it may not lend itself to a good streaming situation. In other words, it could be challenging. Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't put it past them to try it. Especially if they get a corporate sponsor like they do with Verizon, or whoever wants to sponsor that stuff. And maybe they could present a live stream exclusively for the American audience. But would you want to do that in the convention center on a stage in the middle of the floor with all English? I don't know if that's going to work in Japan.
Yeah. Right.
So, and I'm basing this all off of prior experience.
Sure.
But you never know how things have changed and
right.
how their approach is
One
changed.
of these days, we're going to have the Star Trek Universal Translator, and people are going to just speak into the microphone, and it's going to come out in whatever language you want.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's on the horizon. No question about it. So we'll have to wait and see how coverage is being presented to us from Japan. So we might just be relying on fan reports largely, or website reports.
No fan left behind here at Rebel Force Radio. We'll be breaking it all down for you. That's for sure. Even if we have to read live tweets, whatever it takes, we're going to do it for you. As we mentioned earlier, if you need more Rebel Force Radio in your life, and why wouldn't you, go and find that at patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. That's patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. Exclusive podcasts that you can't subscribe to anywhere else. Plus weekly full show video. That's right. The podcast you're listening to now, you could be watching, which is especially good when we do those trailer breakdowns. As great as Mac is at doing the audio description track, sometimes you just need to watch it. And please, speaking of watching us, please watch us on YouTube, like and subscribe, and leave a comment on our just huge repository of videos spanning our going on 2 decades of Star Wars commentary and podcasting. All that's at youtube.com/Rebel Force Radio. We're on all your socials. We're on X. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook at Rebel Force Radio, and the official website for everything and all things Rebel Force Radio, rebelforceradio.com. But if you really want to help us out, the best way to do that is to do what you're doing right now. Keep listening. Keep referring your friends, your family members, the Star Wars fans in your life, folks around the water cooler at the office. Keep referring them to Rebel Force Radio. Whenever there's a new Star Wars show, you know that people, they start saying, I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm going to watch this thing. And then get that conversation going and tell them about Rebel Force Radio. We really appreciate it. If your podcatcher of choice allows you to leave us a review, we love our reviews. We read them all. Just one simple rule, please.
Make them good.
All right, that's it. We'll see you right here next time for more Rebel Force Radio and more Star Wars news and commentary only on Rebel Force Radio. Until then, for RFR, I'm Jason.
I'm Jimmy Mack.
And remember,
the Force will be with you, always.
Another happy landing.